And we're live.
All right. Welcome to the live coding happy hour for May 19th. This is the first one post Knowledge 17, and boy, are my arms tired. So welcome to live. I'm Dave Slusher, and with me are my colleagues Josh Nerius.
Hello.
And Chuck Tomasi.
How are you?
So since we think or we hope we've got a larger audience in the post Knowledge 17 CreatorCon and just kind of the effort to get a little more traction out there in the world, I'm going to give a little longer spiel of what we do here. So live coding happy hour is really our ease into the weekend where the three of us, some subset of the three of us, and sometimes a special guest get together, do some development. We really all of us are in some manner or another. We do externally facing work. We do enablement. We create content. One of the things that can be tough is actually finding time to actually do code. So this is a forcing function for us to get together, do some code. We know for an hour, if everything else goes crazy, for an hour a week, we get a chance to sit down and work on an app. And we drink beer while we do it because that's the happy hour part of it. Now, one of the things about this whole thing is that we're not guaranteed to do, we're guaranteed to try some stuff, not guaranteed to get to working code. Sometimes, like what I have to do this week is probably a little less exciting. What Chuck has to do is a little more visually interesting. Sometimes it's mind-blowing stuff. Sometimes it's kind of pedestrian stuff that you need to do, but it's all part of the job. And we kind of make an effort, more than anything, just an effort to show you like what doing the job looks like, and for people who are new to it, we did actually hear a fair amount of people saying that they use these as resources. So if you're a new developer, you may not know kind of the best ways to debug. And so like watching us fail to get things working may actually be of value to you. So with that, let's go into the longer introductions. Josh, if you want to start us off.
Sure. So I'm Josh Nerius. I'm a developer evangelist here at ServiceNow. I've been here about 3.5 years, started out on the services side, and then actually came over to the evangelist role at Knowledge 16. So it's been just almost exactly a year, and I'm absolutely loving it. I mean, I get to live code and drink beer, so not a lot better than that. But yeah, that's me.
All right, Chuck.
Hi, I'm Chuck Tomasi from ServiceNow. I work in the platform practice team. I'm a platform architect. It's been that way for about 1.5 years, and I still haven't managed to spit out the title correctly. I was a customer for a couple of years, and I've been with ServiceNow for about 7 years in various capacities in professional services and now in pre-sales. So enjoying it very much.
All right, and I'm Dave Slusher, also a developer evangelist. I'm on Josh's team. Did we do the thing? Developer.servicenow.com. Go get a free developer instance if you don't have one. There is literally no reason to not do one if you have any interest in ServiceNow development. If you're watching this, you should have one if you don't already have one. And I've been a developer evangelist about 1.5 years, been with ServiceNow about 3.5 years. I realized that was my fourth knowledge because I went to one just a couple months after I started here. Yep. So what we're going to do before we even get into everything is we're going to kind of give a little capsule rundown of kind of each of our experiences. So Chuck, if you want to kick us off with that and our beer and our knowledge experiences.
Okay, beer first. I am drinking Bell's Winter White Ale. They are out of Comstock, Michigan. Didn't know you could get a Michigan beer here in Phoenix, but somehow I did. This is a Belgian-inspired wheat ale, so we'll be trying that. I think this is the last one in my fridge.
All right, and how did knowledge go for you? Kind of what were the highlights for you?
The highlights, there's really two that stand out in my mind. One was the pre-con training. I was the lead instructor on one of the 4 app creation courses for about 60 people, and it went really, really well. In fact, it got a little loopy and crazy at the end, and I'm going to leave it at that because there were some things that probably shouldn't have been said that were said on both sides of the instructor and the audience. And those 60 people who are in the room will be scarred for life.
Yikes. Man, what did we miss?
I will tell you how to make the best demo ever, but it might be the end of your job. You're kind of like when Daffy Duck blows himself up for the final applause. The other thing that stands out is the developer theater, where Dave and Craig and I did Tech Now Live on Tuesday, and Wednesday did part 1 of building an app with no code, low code, and then on Wednesday we came back and did pro code, and we took this thing from start to finish. building a meetup.com like application on ServiceNow, and it worked really well. And it's available in the repo. If you want to go to CreatorCon17 on GitHub, you can find it there. I think I called it TechNow Meetup or TechNow-Meetup, something like that. If you want to fork your own copy, a few people have already done that. Take it, build on it, expand it. We left a few things hanging at the end saying this is what we did. If you want to find those videos, go to the community. There is a TechNow page with all the episodes, and those two are the most recent. So you'll see them as CC17 Part 1 and 2. I forget exactly how they're titled, but you'll see them in the episode list. That was a lot of fun, and everything else sort of filled in around that. There was a lot of selfies. People come up, hey, Chuck, I love your videos. Can I take a selfie with you? And happy to help. It's just been a rocket ride. Very much fun the last week. Tiring, but fun.
And also, I'll update the metadata of this YouTube video to include that repo. So we'll have the URL.
Oh, good idea.
All right, Josh, what was your knowledge and CreatorCon experience?
Well, first off,
And
my
your
beer. And my beer. So I'll start with the beer. I've got a 1090 Angry Dragon Hop Pale Ale. So it's got a cool looking dragon on it. We'll see. First time I've tried it, I get a unique check-in. My knowledge experience, actually, this was I think my fifth knowledge, and it was my favorite knowledge. I had a ton of fun. I did actually presented 3 sessions. I had 2 labs, one on webhooks, one on OAuth, and then I did a talk about JavaScript libraries, and all went really, really well. For me, the standouts, the Developer Hub, just in general. Last year we were way down the end of a hall, way far apart from everything else, and this year Developer Hub was right in the middle. It was awesome. It was very, very exciting to be there and just kind of in the center of everything. And then the party. Oh man, the Universal Studios thing, that was probably the best setting I think for one of the after parties ever. Stood in line for whatever, an hour to go through the Harry Potter thing. And
I'm glad I wasn't alone on that.
No. I mean, if you were, then maybe, I kind of wish we were alone, so it would have gone faster. No, it was a ton of fun. Definitely my favorite knowledge. I think I logged about 56 miles on the Fitbit, and was definitely on a calorie deficit every day. So put it that way.
There you go.
Finally recovered as of maybe yesterday.
All right, and I am drinking, although I haven't opened it yet, Sweetwater Hash Session IPA. I'm not a huge IPA drinker, and I always kind of think the fact that Session IPA exists as a term is a little bit of an indictment of IPA. That you have a special IPA, a special term for an IPA you can drink without thinking about it so hard. But so my knowledge was, would I say it's the best yet? It certainly was up there. I don't know that. It might be tied with the best for me. One of the things so I really did enjoy doing the dev theater thing. One of the things that, wasn't really comprehended in the Gantt chart of that is the fact that we just wouldn't have lunch. There was really no time because there was things right before and right after. And then so I had power bars, but the lunch was far enough away that it was really kind of a hike. I did absolutely like the physical layout better this year. I do miss Las Vegas, so we're going back there next year. So, anytime you put something in a different venue, it's just going to feel different. And so I did enjoy the feel. I didn't see some of the regulars that I got used to seeing. I have learned, I think this is probably the last year I make any effort to ever see a specific person. Because every time you do that, you spend so much time like trying to get to specific meetups. Meanwhile, if you just walk around with no goal, you're going to see people that you know or that want to talk to you the whole time. So exactly. I may not make any formal plan. Like I wanted to meet the SN Dev Slack people multiple times, and I spent energy, and I never actually got in the same place where they were the whole time. So I think I'm just going to stop doing that as a matter of routine. So anyway, let us get to development. So we're going to start with Chuck is going to show us some Service Portal stuff. Time depending on how long it goes. I have some stuff to show. Again, as I say, I can show a little bit of Map Anything. Where I just literally have installed it and played with it for maybe 15 minutes at this point. So why don't we start with Chuck, and he's going to do some Service Portal on our Do Now application.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, there are certain people at the conference that I've seen this one guy, Drew, every year since we first started going in 2010. And it wouldn't be a knowledge without him stopping by and saying hi. And sure enough, he did. So that was exciting. Now, you see my screen? Am I sharing that? Did I do that right?
Yep, we can see your screen. You may want to turn off your camera if you want.
Turning off camera now. Yep, there we go.
Good. And I think we are all ready to go.
So if you've been hanging around the live coding happy hour for a while, you'll know that we have this application that sort of got parked about 6 months ago. We call it Do Now. This is our getting things done application, and it needs a front end to really make it go. We recognize that ServiceNow is a great source of record, but it's now not always the greatest user interface to interacting with some of that data. And this is a classic case of it. When you've got a project, it may be multiple tasks and subtasks and whatnot under there. And my goal for this has always been to revive, let me get that little window out of the way, to use an outline format when we go through and do the weekly review. What are my projects? What are my next actions? And I came across this interface that I thought was really interesting from Angular UI tree.github.io. And if you just look for Angular UI tree, you'll find it. And it allows you to drag entire sections down and move things to a different indent level and so on and so forth. And it's pretty functional. The problem it had about 6 months ago when we parked it was it had a bug. So if you created a new node and then you moved it, the icons would become ineffective. And it looks like there's been a release or four since then, like the double point release. It went from 2.2.1 to 2.2.5. And I just happened to be playing with this morning. I said, I wonder if, because I am in desperate need of a weekly review. I don't know about you guys, but now that knowledge is over, I feel like I have to recollect my thoughts and get the projects in motion back in motion. So this is a fun layout, and you can imagine these as tasks and subtasks and child tasks. And through the parent-child relationship in ServiceNow, we can build out a JSON structure to accommodate this. So what I want to do, I'm hoping to do today, is build this as a widget in ServiceNow. And we've done this before, where we've taken third-party libraries and CSS and brought it in, and it just worked. So I played around with it 6 months ago. I'm going to try and remember what I did so that we can get this online, and then build the live data in here and see how far we can get on this today. But it's one of those things that this application isn't going any further until it gets a good UI on it. And that's what we're hoping to do. So you'll recognize right away that we are still on Helsinki on this Do Now Dev instance, and it makes me kind of sad because I'm really starting to get used to a lot of the Istanbul features and could use them at this point.
They seem minor until they go away, and then all of a sudden you realize how important they were.
Like, hey, why did Studio not just come up? Why do I have to open it up twice? And where's my debugger? And why is it Studio in a tab? But we'll prevail. So the general idea here is I have a script include called Do Now Util that's got some methods in it that used to work months ago to get me the general data structure. I'm going to scroll down a little bit. Is that big enough for you guys? Can you read that, or should I make it a wee bit bigger since we've got screen real estate? Let's do that.
A little bit bigger might not be bad. It looks all right, but over on the YouTube, it might be a little smaller.
It's a little tiny. Do full screen, people. So I've got this method called Get User Action Hierarchy, and that's what I'm going to call to get my list of actions is what we're calling these things. And it's got, this holy hell of a query string built to do the encoded query and pass back an array of objects. That's what the server-side component is going to get. But before we do that, let's build the basic widget first. So in the widget editor, I'm going to create a new widget called Do Now. Do Now. You can see we've been playing around with some other things. Outliner. I'm calling it Outliner so it doesn't conflict with the old one that I had, Outline. And now we'll have even more widgets and get confused. Oh, I need to create a widget. That I had an
minor details.
Yeah.
It's Friday.
Do Now Outliner. That's why we have multiple people watching this. I'm going to create a test page just so I have something to test it on in case Preview decides to give up the ghost. And we've got our HTML and our client script. The first thing we need to do, though, is go get those libraries and put them into, you guys remember how to do this, right?
Dependencies.
Dependencies. And dependencies, in this case, are going to be made up of a UI script and a CSS. So I am starting from scratch. And it is going to be Angular tree. And that's nice, but I don't need that. What I need is out of the GitHub repo, in their distribution, there's my Angular tree JavaScript. And this is the library of everything that I'm going to get. So let's go to raw. If you guys see a faster way of doing this, let me know.
No, you're on the right track. I mean, one of the things that you can do when you're defining those dependencies is you could give it a URL instead, and go find a content distribution network like CDN.js or something. I like copying everything in though, because that way
you're not dependent on somebody's GitHub repo going away, or they up-rev from version 2 to 3 and suddenly your widget breaks. So there's value in either way. Had I been using their library, maybe my widget would have just started working.
Yeah, that is the trade-off, right?
Yep.
You effectively, when you put it in there, you have effectively forked it, right? And you've frozen yourself, which, like you say, it means you're not getting hot fixes, and it means that you've got a maintenance problem. You've got a maintenance task you have to go back and do if you want to get something. At the same time, it keeps unpredictable things from happening outside of your control.
So let's go to Service Portal CSS. We'll make ourselves a quick CSS file. We don't have one already. So we'll call this Angular tree, just so it looks a little more CSS-ish. And that, and that. And now we can go make our dependency. Since we created the widget, we should have a widget in here. All right, sort by latest updated. Do now outliner. And down at the bottom is our dependencies. Let's make a new dependency. Call it Angular tree. Do not check this box.
What does it do?
It loads this dependency like on every page. So if you try to bring up the Service Portal designer page where it comes up with those 5 buttons, do you want to do branding editor? Do you want to do that page dies. It doesn't come up at all.
So that should almost be called something like global.
Yeah.
Which is a scarier word.
I was playing around with that this morning and went, why is the Portal widget, not just the widget editor, the whole Portal configurator page is dead. What did I change? I wonder what happens if I uncheck that. Uncheck that, it works fine.
That is an important tidbit. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up.
Otherwise, we would have wasted about 15 minutes on this show.
Which sometimes we like to do, but that one would have been boring.
So let's go create a new JS include. And this is the part I don't like, because this display name, once you set it, you can't edit it later. I don't know what the deal is with this, but Angular tree. It's a UI script, and I am getting the Angular. I did save that script, right?
I think you did. 32.
That's interesting.
It might be scope. It might be prefaced with your
scope,
right?
You're right. It might be prefaced. You are correct. X2 now Angular tree. Smart man. My sandbox test this morning was in the global scope, which is why it bothered me. Okay, CSS. Let's get that CSS file in here. It is a style sheet. I'm not very original with the names today. This one is also scoped. Yes? No?
See, I think there might be an inconsistency here.
It doesn't prefix the CSS. It's still in my scope. That will come along with the rest of the application.
Yeah, it's really just the display name, whether it's automatically prefixed, which is a little bit weird that it's not consistent across them.
For the fun part, let's go back here to the main branch, and they have examples, because I was looking around in these examples. This is the basic example. We'll start there. And we want app CSS. We want the JavaScript from basic example. And you'll notice they have the controller all defined in here. We don't need the whole controller. We need just this part, because the widget editor defines all the other stuff. And we want down to there, I think. We're going to find out. This is where it gets fun, kids. This is our client script that's going to fit in here. Because we are, and we don't forget that. Always forget that. I'll be writing an HTTP processor and forget the HTTP part.
Very important.
Yeah. You'll hit the error. It'll go, I don't know what $8 HTTP is. It's like, oh, crap. So yeah, always keep an eye on that top line. And the demo, wrong window. The demo HTML is under examples, views, basic example. So let's just copy raw that into DOS widget editor. And whenever I copy and paste, here's another friendly tip, kids. Whenever you copy and paste, do the select all shift tab thing. Because I've seen some weird crap happen when you just have the wrong spacing somewhere. It throws off the whole preview on you.
That's an interesting looking bit of code there.
Yeah, that is. It is. There's a script here which says node renderer.html, and then it's got HTML in the script tag, and it's referenced down here from ng include as a string, not as a variable, because if you left out the inner quotes, it'd be a variable.
Interesting. So if you look at the other attributes of that script, notice how it had the thing. Let's go back up to that, because this is something I think we should look at. Text ng template. So instead of text JavaScript or something like that, it's saying that the type of script is an ng template. Interesting. I'm not very well versed in Angular, but this is kind of
yeah.
Cool.
This is probably pretty core. Like if you were a hardcore, not ServiceNow, Service Portal, but like a mainline Angular developer, this is probably the way you do a lot of stuff. But Service Portal, that's not really one of the things that we typically do. But so it's interesting to see that working inside of Service Portal.
My guess is we could do this within Service Portal with a Service Portal template. So you do the ng include, and then you include the right template in there, and it'll work fine.
Got it. That makes sense.
Let's turn on preview and see what we got. We got... it's close, but it's hideousness. Okay, so we can add a node, we can delete a node, but there's an alignment problem. What I found was some scraps of work last year that I don't know how much of this is redundant, but I doctored up some of the CSS after going through the inspector on my browser and overrode some of these styles so that it looks a little better.
That does look a little better.
Okay, so we have, theoretically, a functioning... Maybe we should do it from the page. Preview might be just a little spazzy on me. I can't bring that one out.
Maybe not enough room on the window for it to detect.
Yeah. So let's go to pages. Never hurts to have your Service Portal page available on another tab. And I am going to try it with the generic Service Portal screen and see what happens. Can we drag this out? Uh-oh. I can bring it up. Oh, there you can't bring it out because it was under that node. See, I can bring that out. I see what it's doing. It's saving me from myself. I can bring that in, and I can bring that in, or in. Yeah, you just got to hit the right spot. It's saying, look, you can't bring this out. It doesn't make sense because I have that I have node 1.1.4 underneath it. Which what would that be attached to if I dragged this out? So it's actually being pretty smart. Notice that the old CSS is kind of bleeding through when I'm moving.
Yeah, I see that. You probably have to do some sort of draggable, or I don't know what the exact event is while the drag is occurring.
We'll come back to that later. So what I'd like to do next is get my real data in here. And this is a pretty clear definition, although rather than ID, I think a sys-ID would be more appropriate, don't you? That way I can reference the record, and when we do adds, we'll have a parent record to attach it to. When we do deletes, And there's one other thing missing. If this was truly a glide record of some type, I would want like an info icon over here that I can bring up the details of that record here. I really don't care about the JSON too much. I mean, it's a nice debugging tool, but it's not functionally, it's not doing me any good. And we can talk about the CSS on these buttons later. I think they should look more bootstrapish, but for now, having a collapse all and an expand all is kind of handy.
I mean, the point of this is that you just copied and pasted code right off of GitHub, and you've got something up and running. So
well, yeah, I had to.
That's a win.
Yeah, and I had a little hand waving on the CSS. that was previous work done. Yeah, but that is pretty impressive that you can get these third-party things working pretty darn easily. Let's put away the preview window there just so we have a little more space to work with. And go away. Preview, go away. Oh, by the way, preview changes a bit from what I've seen on Jakarta. It comes out in a whole new modal up in front of all your other code, and I'm not sure I like it, and I'm not sure it's done. I was looking at my nightly release this morning. Let's put the CSS away. I think we're pretty much done fooling around with that, and we can get rid of what we're really trying to do is populate scope.data, and let's leave this here as a working example. But we're trying to build something like that, right?
Makes
and in
sense.
here, we're doing nodes.nodes.length. What attributes are we pulling out of there to render in the HTML?
Node in data, and then
there's node.title.
Got it.
Okay, and I think the client script is using the ID so it knows what to attach to what. No, it's not. Interesting.
And there's some other interesting attributes too in that data.
It's probably a parameter. No, it's passing this, which is scope. What is it using? It has to know when you insert that it goes underneath ID1 or ID11.
So where's your like drop hand? Like your drag and your drop handler code? Is that down below there?
No, not there.
Is that just in the library? So maybe
I think it's in the library itself.
Ah,
it's
gotcha.
Baked in, so you may not even see any of this.
Yeah. Okay.
And I did notice if you look at the data schema and how that's laid out, it looks like you can pass various parameters in, like no drop of true. So that's probably how.
Yes.
That's your way of controlling the rendering, is through additional properties.
Yep.
It appears to be.
Yep.
Okay.
You can. You are absolutely correct that there are all kinds of parameters you can pass to this. Again, if you wanted to look at the other examples that are out here, you've got the ability to filter nodes, which I eventually want to put in. So I can look for a 2 and boom, there's all the 2 dot somethings. There's another example. I call it prevent drop, but I'm not sure which one is preventing a drop.
Yeah, probably that is that no drop thing right there.
Data no drop enabled. Either
you can't drop it on 2. Like try to drop something on 2 from there, like onto node 2, because the node 2 does have no drop set.
Yep, you can't do that, but you can drop things, on node 1? No, you can't drop anything on this one. It's all locked down. There's connected trees, which I guess whatever you do to one, you do to the other.
That's interesting. Maybe 2 different views of the same data or something.
Yeah, maybe.
If you wanted to show your tasks by context and by project at the same time or something.
Lots of neat examples in this one development. Back to what we were doing. We wanted to get the server data. So let's go to the server script and call my happy little script include that I had here before, which was in Studio. I didn't leave Studio up and running. Darn it.
Now, using the server script is just one way you could do it, right? We can talk about the others after you.
Yes, and this was something I did one lab guru at Knowledge, and it was like the last thing I did on Thursday, and they took us through some advanced service portal. What's it called? Advanced Service Portal Widget Techniques, and learned a couple things. You don't necessarily have to load your data in the server script. I do it out of habit. It's like, here's the setup information, go. It's sort of like bootstrapping itself. So script includes do now util. Loading. Scrolling. And just down. Oh, I learned something today. Do a Command A and a down arrow. It'll get you to the bottom. But what I want isn't quite at the bottom. These are all supporting in the, what would I call it? Get user action hierarchy. That's what I was looking for. And it takes no parameters and it passes an array of objects describing each record. Let's find out. So in theory, I should be able to do data dot nothing. Really? Data equals do now utils get user action. I can't remember what it was.
Hierarchy.
I named it.
And and what is that returning again? That's returning an object.
According to this, it's returning an array of objects describing each record.
Interesting.
So it's doing the query, the while task.next, the list.push.
Build tree from an array.
Return the ordered list.
Okay.
So does this have a nested JSON structure? Is that
yes.
when you're done? Okay.
Yeah.
So it has,
what I'm looking for is something
it has that same nesting that you expect there.
The question is, what did I use for properties in this thing? I have the ID, which is the society. That's kind of what I wanted. I've got a parent, and the title is going to be the number dash short description, and there's something that chops it off if it's too long. Maybe? Let's see if I can get live data out of this. I have about 6 records. Where did my old test page go? Refresh that. Oops.
Do now utils. Are you in the same scope?
It might not be plural. It might be my problem. Yeah, it's not plural. I vary back and forth whether it's util or utils, and now I've gotten on a kick where I call it manager. User manager, task manager. Yeah, my script includes now have manager suffixes. Because it takes care, of all the states, and I don't know. It just popped up.
Evolution of personal naming conventions over time.
I guess. And, when you're on a team of 3, nobody's naming it the same. Refresh. Oh! ToString called on incompatible object. Line number 5. That's buried somewhere in the script. Includes script source code log to browser console.
All right, so always a good idea, particularly like when you've got the page right there, the test page. Always a good idea to have that open because
Yep. It's a little tiny to read here, but what are we seeing?
You know what could be going on? I wonder, do you want to assign directly to data, or do you want to be setting a property on data? So in other words, say data dot something is...
Well, it seemed to be barking about a toString in here somewhere.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can find it real fast.
I just wonder if there's an implicit conversion going on somewhere that's calling... the Java toString methods on the back end or something like that. Yeah, I just wonder if it's expecting data to be an array or if it's expecting data to be a dictionary.
I was hoping I wouldn't have to do this, but I'm going to look at the server script on the old one that was just a big old mess last fall. The reason I'm not using this instance is because it's a little slow. It's funny because my employee instance is about 10 times the power of the one we're using here, but for whatever reason... there's like 4 times the worker nodes on it. But for whatever reason, it's always pokey slow. I even opened a high incident on it, and they went, oh, it's just caching. No, this is not caching. Oh, well, first I need my name, because that's being, well, no, I don't need that. I know. I think. This is still... There's another one I did, data.actions, and then I looped over the actions in the script. But we're still using the original script here that's doing the ng repeat on node in data. So data is just an array of objects. Huh.
Now, if you go to the top of your client script, is data becoming? So I think it's going to be c.data. So scope.data, is scope.data the same thing as c.data? If that makes any sense at all. I'm just wondering if these are the same thing.
You think we're misaligned somewhere on our data structure?
Yeah, because data is going to.
Yes, C is the controller.
Right, C is the controller, and c.data is going to reference the data object you have in your server script. So on the left-hand side, I'm just wondering if we're getting confused because they're both called data, but they're actually not the same thing.
Maybe. I want to see what data is coming back with. If it's really alive or not.
Yeah, I'm wondering if what you need is a...
That toString is just... And the line number 5, line number 5 is more than likely referring to this line.
Mm-hmm. So one thing we could do to at least eliminate whether or not it's a problem to assign to data is just do data dot something, data dot action or data dot Bob or whatever. And if it goes away, then we at least know.
Actions. Save. Refresh. And
still doesn't like it. Interesting.
Okay. So it's not the assignment. I think it's the JSON marshalling that's probably causing the problem. So like when it's going down the hierarchy and stringifying.
But it didn't stringify anything. I mean, the script include is returning order list.
Well, I think when you set it to when you assign that to data, you are I think implicitly stringifying, because
it's got to go to the client.
It's got to go through. That.
So maybe there's something in there that's not stringifiable. Kind of like what happens if you try to stringify a glide record. Things just go badly.
Let's just see what happens. I want to see the data. GS debug is going to go to the console log, right? I don't remember. Ow.
Still doesn't like it.
It still doesn't like it.
So what's happening in your internal method there, the build tree from array?
Build tree from array. That is taking the list of actions and associating the parents with the child's. So it's making the hierarchy. This just goes through and says, give me all of Chuck's stuff.
Okay, so you've got a linear list first.
This is pretty much one-dimensional, if you want to think about it that way. It's not an outline. This is a pure array list. There's no relationship from parent to child. That's what this does. Take an array and connect the children as subarrays.
Okay, so let's look at that for a minute.
Okay.
So we've got title, make title string. Got it.
I tested all this stuff once.
And this is why it's live coding happy hour.
Yeah.
This is what we do.
This just chops it off if it's too long, so don't worry about the title thing.
Got it. And then get children is just
it just says, is anybody a child of mine?
So object list.
Finds all records in the list where the parent field points to top. And top is the parent. Level apparently is used for debugging only. I don't remember putting that in. Oh, because when I was doing GS debug, I wanted to see, am I on the second level, the third, how many tiers down have I drilled? Mm-hmm. That's all. That's what that's for. Because this is a recursive. Woohoo! See, because it calls itself right. There's get children again. So
I noticed in your method earlier on, you had a commented out JSON.stringify.
Probably for debugging. Where'd you see that?
That was up in there online.
Get hierarchy one.
It's just a little bit like scroll down about 3 or 4 lines.
This one.
There you go. Okay, yeah, you were just debugging that.
Yep.
Maybe throw it back in here so we can at least see what we're seeing.
Yeah. Save that. Run that. We probably want to go over to system logs at this point. I don't think that's going to be spewed out in the log.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so.
No. Okay. So mlog. What do you think?
And this is where we really wish we had Istanbul on your instance right now.
Yes.
So we could fire up the debugger.
Okay. Method toString called on incompatible object. Method toString. Is that me? That's me. It didn't like it there. How far are we getting in here? That was 109.52. It only tells me these two things. It's not really telling me anything useful here.
Is it not getting...
Wait a minute.
That's in the client side.
What is this? What is that? Hold on.
Isn't it?
That's that function. That's function scope. It's on the client side?
I think...
No, client side wouldn't end up in the...
That's true. It couldn't be. But where is... I don't even know...
This looked goofy to me, but this is part of the server script because it has the data.table equals sp get value thing. That's the comment right here.
Oh, okay, got it. So it's just truncating the log message.
Yeah. Oops. So what is this? Anybody in the chat room saying anything helpful?
Help, lifeline. Nothing yet.
Okay.
But no pressure, Chuck. We have
no pressure. We might cut to
audience.
Dave now.
Oh, user action hierarchy is misspelled.
Oh.
User action hierarchy. The way that a lot of people say it.
Hi, the Archie.
Hierarchy. Like that? What the heck was that toString nonsense about? That was misleading.
I'm guessing it was returning undefined, and you can't stringify an undefined. And this is what 80% of my coding problems are.
Okay, so let's go
back to assigning that to data.
Data. Still not guaranteed we're putting in the right options, but as long as we have an ID and a title, I think we're pretty safe, right? And nodes.
As long as, as long as that thing moves down the wire, you're actually in good shape.
Hang on. We need to know if it has a nodes array structure so it can drive around. We're on 200 something. I want the old go-to line thing back.
Yeah, me too.
So we have ID, parent, title. Where's the nodes? It's not in here. Oh, it is. Okay, good. There's the array of nodes. I want to make sure we just have what the basic example was looking for. So save that one more time. Reload that. And nothing.
Okay.
No errors.
Connection exists. Oh, sorry. That has nothing to do.
In your client script, do you want to do like just a logging of C data? Like a console.log C data?
Yep.
I think this might be where we...
Is C data or is it $scope.data, or is that the one and the same?
I think C data, isn't C data what's going to... I'm going to have to look this up.
C is this.
It's a long time. I believe C data is the end of the... I believe C data is the... Well, let me look it up. For goodness sake.
Yeah,
C is just an alias to this.
To the controller.
But everybody else is modifying $scope.data. Hey, what do we got? It takes 10 seconds while he's looking, right?
Yeah, might as well try it. I mean, that's what we'd be doing if we weren't on the screen anyway.
Object. Proto.
Doesn't look like there's much of anything in there.
My stuff. No. Okay, so let's go to $scope.
I still feel like we might have a problem directly assigning to data, so we may have to return to that one too.
We may. Object, proto. That doesn't look like mine either. Okay, well, let's take your idea, Josh, and instead of node in data, let's do node in data dot actions. Well, don't ding at me. Come on. Actions. And let's put this in data dot actions.
Worth a shot.
Save that. Refresh.
And now, at the very least, when we expand that object in the console, if we don't see
Score.
actions,
There's a lesson.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
There's a lesson. Okay, so now we.
Well, we know it's doing something.
Scope parent node scope model value index of is not a function. Did I miss something from the online code?
This, friends, is why you, when you're debugging widgets, you always want to have this console open.
Did it die on something? No, this is just repetitive. This is doing the same thing over and over. This is my data, though. I entered these just before the show started. Phoenix Comic-Con, Pool Party, Podcasting for Dummies, review the figures. So
try one thing. Chuck, clear your console right quick.
Yep. Where was it? That one? That one.
Now,
Okay.
very slowly, click and drag, and let's see when it generates all that
Click.
stuff.
As I start to drag.
As you go, when it's the drag thing. So it's trying to re-reference it when it's got a potentially drag target.
But that was just a click, though. Hold on. That's a good observation, though. Click, and I get one.
But the other one was it waited.
Click and click, and that one won't click. That one won't drag at all.
I wonder. So I mean, we were doing.
Hey, I was able to move that one. I can't move anything to the top, though.
Weird.
I think I remember encountering this before.
This makes it sound like maybe there's a some kind of a callback method that you need to implement.
Yes,
then
you know
have to
what?
Register or something like that.
Well, you know what I'm thinking is, hang on, close that. We don't need that at the moment. I'm thinking it's in this template thing. It's rendering it right, but is it passing the right thing in? Okay, I think we're going to have to pause on this because it's going to be a bit of a deep dive. Like tree nodes, ng model data. Maybe that needs to be data dot actions.
That
actually makes perfect sense right there.
Yep.
See any other references to data or nodes that need fixation? Okay.
Command F.
That's too easy.
Just
Okay,
gonna check
refresh, click, drag, boom, click, drag, boom, add a child node, click, drag. Hey, guys, this is starting to work.
Wow.
Nothing red. And I'll work, or maybe in the future we'll put on the icon over here that says, here's the details about this particular action. Didn't we agree at one previous staff meeting that we were going to take the numbers out because they serve no useful purpose in this list?
Yeah, we were. Yeah, we need to do that.
Do that. All right. I'd call this a fairly good success on taking our data and putting it onto someone else's widget. And this widget is no longer barking at me, doing the crazy nonsense it did before, which could have been an artifact from me fooling around with it. But I know I went back to
Yeah, let's go back and look at your HTML code one more time. See if we can figure out.
Yeah. See
if we can figure out, because I think
what are you looking for?
The ng tree. So the thing that you it was referencing data, not action. So it's referencing
right. ng model
thing, the ng model.
Yep.
So I think that's the deal. Is somewhere in this library. It says
where's the top of my data structure?
It's using this. It's saying this is the data structure that holds on my stuff. So at the point where you're trying to rewrite something, it was actually not able to dereference any of your data because the thing you're pointing at didn't have the nodes array.
Exactly. You're moving it in a completely different place into the whole. And we may want this will make more sense because our vision is we're going to have more stuff in data like data.username. So it says this is Chuck's list or information like that. So we've learned a whole lot about Service Portal in the last 6-8 months about communicating between widgets and making things appear and disappear and saving when you click and scripted REST APIs. I think this has a fighting chance of being a usable part of the application in a few short sessions.
Yeah, it makes me really excited, especially with all those post-knowledge tasks that we're trying to work through.
You're as desperate for a weekly review as the rest of us, aren't you? And that's what pushed me into this. I said, why am I so stressed out when knowledge is over? It's because I don't know what's on my plate anymore. I've been so heads down focused on either knowledge or my other key project that everything else is out the window. And I've got a lot of stuff coming up that's starting to needle at me. And I need this tool back. I need this tool online so we can start to organize some of this stuff.
So a couple questions for you. So we're doing data.actions. We're just assigning from a script included on the server side.
Yep.
Does this seem like the best long-term option? I think it makes sense because the first time it loads, you sort of want to load this stuff server side. Maybe you don't want to initiate AJAX calls. Would it be fair to say that you would probably want to do some kind of scripted REST API or
Yes.
something else like that? So when you actually drag stuff around.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're going to have the handler. I've got to dig more into the Angular tree API as to how I detect where it was dropped, who's the parent, who's the child. Because it's obviously doing that because the little JSON doodad at the bottom knows full well what you've got. I just need the right pieces and parts. I go, where did it come from, and where's it going to? Or maybe I don't, because you really just need to keep the parent field up to date as to who it's attached to.
So just to be clear for people watching, what you're doing now when you're dragging it around, it's correctly updating everything in the ng model that is local there. But what it's not doing is persisting any of that. So if you go and drag it around and reorder it and do all that kind of stuff, and then you were to refresh the page, is just get the same data back that you began with. Yeah,
we already fooled around with this one, and I can say, delete this whole structure, and as soon as I refresh it, it's just going to reload from the server, says, here's your data, have fun, start over. You're right. We need to
Right. And somewhere in there, you would either do that like the two schools of thought, or you would either do that like in a server update where you push it back up and persist everything in the server side code, or you could do it scripted REST API in the client controller. Which is
I'm leaning towards a scripted REST API, but let's dig into that a little more. We've had this discussion before. I don't know which is appropriate or best in this case, but we've got the information in there, and my gut tells me that all you really need is see how this parent is under the nodes of there's an ID out here. This one. So OC733 is a child of, excuse me, his parent aligns with this. So 1002 has a child of, there's the parent number. That's what nodes is. That's an array of all of its child. That's what that build, that private function was doing. It was saying, oh, I got a whole list of stuff, but who's associated to whom, really? Let's use the sysids to sort this all out. So every record is going to have its own sysid, and some will have a parent. In this case, if it doesn't have a parent, it's a top level and it's a null. And when the UI is taking care of all of this for me. So if I take 1003 and move it from under 1002 and put it maybe under 1006, this has all been refreshed. So here's 1006, the pool party, and it has node that includes 1002 now. Apparently the Christmas party and the pool party are sometime around the same time, but they're not. So
maybe you're in a warm climate like yours, but certainly not here.
No, the pool's really cold at Christmas time. If we knew the ID and the parent, that's really all that's updating in this whole structure. We don't care that 1002 no longer has a node. It's just like if you're going to the parent field on a task and saying your new parent is this other one. That's all that's changing. The parent doesn't know that it has one less child. It doesn't care. So I think this should be a pretty simple process to make this data persistent. We really just need to say, here's a sysid and here's the parent ID. Go get the record, update the parent, and we're all good.
Yeah, that seems pretty straightforward. Yeah, so as long as you know what changed and then what the current state of it is, you can walk that tree, make those updates. And of course, it gets a little more interesting if you want to do more things like change description or perhaps there's addition or deletion or things like that. But those sound like future episodes. So yeah, my idea is we'll have a third icon over here that brings up the details. So if I have to make some details of when is Phoenix Comic-Con, well, I want to see the date. I want to see the other details of that.
we'll pull up a daughter widget over here that says, go show me the details, and it will be an active form that we can edit and save those details on that particular record. And then if you want to move it around. So as I'm going through my weekly review, okay, here's my podcasting for dummies, and I have one thing. Well, I know I not only have to review the figures, I've got 4 or 5 other things. So let's create those real fast. That wasn't the best way. Let's do it this way. Boom, boom, boom. Now I've got some other records here. Obviously, these would need to be auto-numbered or generic descriptions instead of dummies.2, dummies.3, dummies.4. But I need the details of those. And clicking here is now in the drag and drop mode. I need something to bring up details over on the right that I can then say, great, let's go modify those details. What's the importance? What's the urgency? How much time do you think it's going to take? Whatever the details on that particular action happen to be. And then, Josh, the next thing we're going to build after we get this outlining thing going, which I don't think is going to take that long anymore, I'm hopefully optimistic, is what am I supposed to do this week? What are my top 5 things? And we carry that around on a mobile device and use the power of ServiceNow and this kind of interface so that it says, I am out doing errands. Show me everything I'm doing while I'm doing errands because I don't remember all my errands. And it will come up. We have all kinds of good ideas for this app.
Lots of good stuff. Well,
now
the beauty of it is...
Now that I have an Amazon Echo, I want to start telling it what I want to do.
Right. Cool. Well,
we are just about out of time. I think that was fairly productive and informative.
All right. I think at this point, why don't we just call it here? So yep. I'll make a point of kind of getting my stuff in a position where I can show it not next week because next week is the holiday. 2 weeks from. 2 weeks from. Yep. Next week.
Should be
all right.
Whatever it is. Okay. Your report.
See, it would be May 33rd. So it'd be June 2nd.
May 33rd.
May 33rd.
There's a story in there. I used to have a calendar that said Happy November 72nd.
That is always how I do calendar math. If I want to know like what 6 weeks is, that's how I do it. Say, okay, that's May. That would like be May 61, which would be June 30.
Yep.
All right. Go ahead and unshare your screen if you would, Chuck.
Did you say woodchuck?
Woodchuck.
Sorry. I got to find the right app here. Stop sharing the screen and turn the camera back on. There we go. Ooh, it's getting warm. Thank you, gentlemen.
All righty. Okay, I'll go first. Hash Session IPA. I'm going to give it a 3.75. I don't love it. I don't hate it. It's fairly solid.
Angry Dragon Pale Ale. Probably, actually, I'll go the same thing, about 3.75. It's better than 3.5. It's not quite a 4, but it's drinkable.
I've got the Winter White Ale, the Belgian Wheat Ale. I like the flavor. The only thing I don't like is there's just a bit too much sediment on the bottom, so I always leave the last inch in the bottle so I don't feel like swallowing the mud. So for that, I will give it a 3.5.
Ooh. Took a hit. Took a hit for filtration is a factor in this.
I know that's the way wheat. I know that's the way they're supposed to be. That's what makes them cloudy. But I don't know. It's like the coffee grounds to me.
Sometimes it's just too much.
Yep.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, everybody who watched. And thank you, any new people we have picked up recently. And we will see you in 2 weeks. And thank you, gentlemen. It is fun to be back and doing what we do.
So happy to be back. See y'all soon.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.